Okay.
He's gonna do our normal admission stuff.
Oh man.
We'll see how much.
How much did he weigh?
1900.
Oh, you're a little dude.
He's a little petite thing.
4 pounds, 3 ounces.
Oh wow.
Shout out to the father, you with me? Now me and the family winning. One time for the family business. From Taylor Love.
What's good, people?
Oh my gosh.
What's good, people? We back in the building. It's your boy J Hogue and Miss
Shanquita.
Shanquita ain't nothing sweeter. Listen, I know I said Wednesday.
Yeah, he did.
My bad. We back on it, but listen. Today, man, we really want to walk through something that's pretty interesting. I don't even know if it's interesting, but it was an adjustment. Something that we had to get used to was having a baby that was in the NICU. That was tough in and of itself. Just the whole idea of not being able to take the baby home right away.
Oh my gosh.
The idea or the reality that, man, he's not at optimal health to be able to go home, right. And that, man, he's not able to even feed on his own completely at this point. So that was tough. And so just the anxiety that was surrounding that idea of just having a child in the NICU. But then on top of that, we had what going on as well?
What do we have going on?
What the world got going on right now?
Oh yeah, COVID ain't going nowhere.
Auntie Rona ain't going nowhere right now, and
yeah. So we had to jump through some more hoops. Is what you was trying to get.
That's what I was trying to get. She act like we didn't talk about this a second ago.
Yeah.
It was wild, man. We had to. It was just like a long walk down this dark hallway, seeming like something off of The Walking Dead or something, and then this little questionnaire we had to fill out every single time. Wash your hands with. It was just, here. We could talk about it. Y'all just check this out real quick. I'm telling you, we went through that every single time we wanted to visit the baby, and so that was twice a day. We went up there at least twice a day for the entire time he was in the NICU, and so that was at least, I don't know, 20-something times we did that. So It was a lot, but like I said, every single time is well worth it. The different thing about this particular episode here, we won't have a ton of coverage from him inside of the NICU And a couple of reasons for that is that the NICU, they have, at this particular hospital, it was just open rooms. And so within the room where baby James was, there were 4 or 5 other young people there. And so with HIPAA, we aren't able to record a lot in there because if another nurse was talking to another family about their child's condition, we didn't want to capture that. Baby James was born 4 pounds, 3 ounces, 17 and a half inches long, right? And so we were excited about that. First for the fact that, okay, he was here, he's breathing, heart working, all that good stuff. And so that was a relief. But man, I think 2 or 3 days after he was born, he had to be placed inside of an isolette. And so one of the things we found out was that babies generally lose a good bit of weight after being born. I think the nurse was saying there was a lot of that's water weight that they have. And so he was 4 pounds, 3 ounces when he was born, but within 2 or 3 days, he ended up dropping down to like 3 pounds, 3.5 pounds. And so because of that, they were concerned about him keeping his temperature up at an optimal level. And so they placed him inside an isolette that they can control the temperature in. And so it was tough seeing him inside the isolette, but we were still able to get in there and help out a good bit. What were the things they had us do when we go in there?
So when we first got in, they asked us to check his temperature, and we checked the temp right underneath his arm. The other one would have been, the other way in the back.
No, that butt. Ooh.
But we checked the temp right underneath the arm, and they also asked us to change the diaper. And if we wanted to change his clothes at any time, we could do that as well. But it was very hard to maneuver within the isolate. But you guys will see that.
For sure. Check it out, man. This is just us checking temperature and getting things rolling that way. Seeing your baby in the isolate, like where did that put you in your mind, or what was that like for you?
Initially it was pretty scary because you see all these wires and things connected to him, and again, the access to him is not as easy. And then you look at the babies around and you see everything happening with them, so definitely scary. A bit of anxiety, just like, man, we want little baby James to grow, and we want him to be able to feed on his own. But at the same time, it could have been worse. A lot worse. We seen a little small diaper that was about this size.
Oh my goodness! The lady called it was so baby James had a preemie diaper, but then there was something that they have called a micro preemie diaper, micro preemie. And man, that diaper, it had to be the size of maybe like your ID or a credit card or something. It was very small. And when the nurse brought that out, that put things into perspective, like, wow, all right, it is not ideal. It's not where we want to be, but the Lord really has worked things out, and it's not as worse as it could be. And so that was a pretty perspective change, or something that really made us think, like, all right, Lord, I see what you're doing in spite of that. But it's tough. Man, one of the bigger things that we really want to walk through within this episode is the importance of, parents being fully involved in the process during the NICU time. Both parents if possible. Because, man, the multiple set of eyes definitely are beneficial. But man, when a child is inside the NICU, man, it is a lot going on. A lot of things are happening fast. Emotions are into it. And so to have people there who are truly involved with the process and have the baby's best interest at heart is so important. That's not to say that the nurses and the doctors don't, but you need to be there to ask questions like, hey, what are you doing there? Or what is that? Why is that happening there? Man, that's so important. The in and out, the I&O chart is something, the intake and output chart of a child, something to definitely ask about. How much food are they taking in, and what is the output, meaning the urine and the poop that are coming out? Knowing those numbers but you see how well the baby is digesting food. Is he or she growing? All those things are very important to ask about because not all nurses or doctors will just give it to you. You sometimes may have to ask specifically for, hey, today, what was his ins and outs today? What does that look like? That's important. Anything that you can think of that could be something important to ask through?
Well, like James was saying, we're not there the whole entire day. And so to be able to ask them, hey, has any major changes happened in between the last time that we've come? Hopefully they'll be able to call you. They call you if anything huge, but even the small things is good to know. Like, hey, what happened in between right after we left for, things of that matter.
Yeah, and that was something we had to have a serious conversation with. I wish I had coverage. Like I said, man, we couldn't capture it all. But man, we were there every single day, at least twice a day, sometimes 3 times a day. And so it was very frustrating at one point when some things had changed up and we hadn't been informed, because it was like, wait a minute, it's not like you don't see us around. It's not like we're not consistently here. What's going on? And so what happened was it's probably like 4 or 5 days of the baby being there. Baby James being in NICU, I would say. And we are there visiting at our normal times, like 2 or 8 p.m., which one? I think it was the 2 o'clock time. At the 2 o'clock time, we were there visiting the baby, and the nurse had just casually brought us and said, oh yeah, we'll do his formula in just a moment. We'll put the formula, we'll get him on his formula. We're like, wait, formula? Up until this point, we had been breastfeeding. Shun had been pumping the liquid gold. My own personal Dairy Queen had been doing her thing, so she had been pumping. And I'm like, wait a minute, formula?
What's that about?
What are you talking about, formula? And trying to have like a quick conversation talking about, well, since he's preemie, we need to put him on the formula, all this. I hear you. I really do hear you. But towards the end of that visit, with the nurse practitioner was there, and when we were on the way out, and I asked her, I said, wait a minute, the nurse told us that we may be putting the baby on formula. Give me a better understanding of what's going on with that. Went on to kind of explain some things, and things definitely made sense. It was not like we were opposed to the idea.
Right. That wasn't the point.
That wasn't the point. Because they weren't even going to tell us. That's the rough part. And so as we began to have this conversation right there in the hall, the head doctor was there, and he began to say, well, we met with the team, the nurse practitioner, our team, we came together, and the team felt like it was the best idea to put him on a formula. And I said, I hear that. That's cool, but how are we going to have a Baby James team and Baby James parents are not a part of this team? I'm going to tell you what we're not going to do. That's not cool. I said, man, if there's a decision being made about our child, we need to be involved with that.
Absolutely.
And it's not like you can't get in contact with us. All right? And so, man, you got to be willing to have those conversations. And if you hear things that are awry, it may not necessarily be something that's completely wrong, but if you have not been involved with the process as that child's parent, that's not cool. And so asking questions like that, because oftentimes it's here's what we're doing, and there's no follow-up as to why we're doing that.
Right.
He was in isolate for a few days. They were monitoring his temperature to make sure that he stayed above the temperature that was optimal for him, and he ended up gaining more weight. He had to maintain his temperature for 2 days, and then he had to get above, I want to say it was like 5 pounds or something like that, 5 pounds. And so he was able to do that. And so here's us visiting and finally seeing him outside of the isolate. It was an epic moment. Man, it was dope. That opportunity just to, I mean, once we saw him outside the isolate, we were excited because we knew progress was happening.
Yeah, for sure.
We had always kept the faith. We were not wavering in that. We knew that the Lord had us. That was the bottom line. But man, seeing him outside the isolate and being able to reach, touch him easily was so great.
It was.
And so, man, we at one point we got him out once he was outside the isolate. We just grabbed him out and just held him. We were just really just looking at him for a minute,
soaking up that time.
Yeah,
it was a beautiful thing, guys. It really was. Yeah, he's such a sweet baby.
Yeah, that's for sure. That's for sure. And so, man, he was just feeding, growing, and so it eventually got to the point where, man, he was in an open crib. And so the dude is funny. So he had, I don't know if you guys noticed, he had a feeding tube inside of his nose. And that was because he hadn't fully developed the ability to
The second reflex.
to suck, swallow, and breathe at the exact same time. He hadn't been able to do that. And he didn't have the strength to feed long enough to get the amount of nutrients that he needed. And so he would feed for 5-10 minutes. He'd try to jump on. He'll breastfeed for about another 5-10 minutes, and he'll just be tired, wore out. And so we just had to pump the rest through his tube. Man, this was interesting. This was so interesting. It was, man, maybe a week and a half into the process, a week and a half or so into the process, we go in to the doctor's office, and the doctor's like, listen, last night your baby ripped his tube out of his nose. He just ripped his tube out of his nose. And we were like, listen, we're not going to put it back in. We're going to see how he does.
Like nobody messing with you.
We was like, all right, okay. And yo, what'd he start doing?
Feeding on his own.
Feeding on his own. Buddy started taking a bottle on his own. He was like, listen, man, I'm trying to get up out of here.
That's right.
I'm not trying to be here too much longer. And that was that was a huge moment.
It was.
A huge moment because it was like, okay, it's not on our time. It's definitely on the Lord's timing, but he has pushed the baby to the point to realize, okay, I'm ready. I have the strength to rip it out on my own. I have the strength, and I'm showing that I have the strength by eating and feeding on my own completely. That was huge.
So whenever they kind of talk to the doctor, like in the morning, they'll go around and talk about all the patients. If they're really, really confident in him, they might kind of hurry him along and say, possibly you could run out with him tomorrow night. It's more likely that they'll ask for the night after that he might room out then. But either way, as long as he keeps things up, hopefully by this weekend he'll be home.
All right, it's getting real. It's getting real. He has the little bracelet on. We like, man, they got my man on crib arrest at the hospital. We need the free baby J. And so we had to make it official with the free baby J photo shoot.
Yeah, y'all know what time it is. Yeah, we're gonna all take a picture together.
Is he gonna wear those whenever he gets
Release.
out? Yeah. Free him.
Yeah. You ready to go?
Show me your outfit, man.
Y'all see it, man. Quit playing. Quit playing with us, bruh. Free baby J, bruh, for real.
Yeah.
Man, we had to do the free baby J photo shoot. It was much needed. And I got something in my chin. It was much needed. And we getting ready to get the baby up out. Thank you, baby. You good?
I think so.
All right, for sure. So yeah, Free baby J. That's what it is. And so, man, that was huge. Like the lady just said in the previous clip, man, if he does his feeding all throughout tonight, we may be getting him home this weekend. So that's a huge deal. And so, all in all, man, let's revisit what we're walking through here. We really want you all to understand that, man, if you have a child that's in the NICU, it's very important that you're there as much as you possibly can.
I agree.
CDC and CNN just put out a study that, man, black children who are looked after by non-black doctors are 3 times likely to die versus the others. And so it's not like it's just something that, man, we just want to have people there just to have them. Man, the idea of having people there that can truly advocate for our babies is huge. So important. And so it's something that we definitely need to jump into and be willing to be there for our children. But yeah, it's looking like the baby gonna be home soon. The shirts, listen, man, let us know in the comments if you like the shirts, man. We may be able to get a link out there to get y'all some of these shirts.
Let us know.
So we can support the baby, get him up out of there. And so all in all, man, again, thank you all for your time and choosing to be a part of this with us. If you like what you're seeing, please share this with somebody so that we can continue to get the message out there for more and more people. And we appreciate y'all. Anything else?
Nope. Stay tuned.
Free baby J.
Free baby J.